Welcome to Tech Talk Live. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 6 p.m. here in Los Angeles.
And 9 p.m. in the DMV. I'm Sam Giacino.
And I'm Jack Armstrong. Welcome to the show. Lots of exciting news. We are going to kick it right off with a story about Apple's lawsuit for misadvertising. Well, it is misadvertising, or it's misleading advertising about Apple Intelligence. So this is really fascinating. We were wondering about this.
Well, because I mean, we've covered this when it came out, essentially, and kind of multiple times, but it's been delayed quite a bit, and basically, Apple did not live up to the promises that it made. Notably, the upgraded Siri, which basically Apple has stopped advertising, but they've been running the ads for several months with no sort of, and now they're saying it's coming 2026. So a little bit of a delay there, and a shakeup in the executive leadership, essentially.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I do think a lot of people upgrade based on advertisements, TV ads, and new features that are advertised. So it really is interesting because Apple has been slow to implement AI and integrate it into the device. And I think that the iPhone, we know their sales, they do everything to get sales every year. And I do think a lot of people believe what they are told by Apple. And I think that the overstated AI capabilities, could lead some customers to purchasing the device that they thought they needed because it's AI. So there was more of a sense of urgency to buy now. And those features did not exist, or they were misrepresented how they were, how they're, shown in the ad, for example. I think, even if it's something so simple like asking, the AI to change your home settings. We talk about home automations a lot. I'm blown away how often it doesn't really get that correct. So it's weird. It's almost like Siri is better at some things that the AI should be okay with doing, but it really shows that Apple has not taken AI and integrated it with, the smart home and the apps that you have on your phone. And it really is like kind of just a chat GPT that's built in that you can verbally ask questions to. It's not really smart enough to do tasks for you yet, or even understand, your lighting setup in your house or what smart devices you have. So I do think it's a little interesting that this is a lawsuit now.
Well, and I think what will also be interesting is how Apple defends itself, right? I mean, are they going to say, well, honestly, like most people don't even want the AI anyway, so they didn't buy the new iPhone based on the advertisement. 80% of people don't even use it. It'll be interesting to kind of see them kind of put the foot in mouth, as we can say, kind of, given the fact that they have to defend themselves. I mean, they're not going to, in the legal world, receive a default judgment if you don't show up. That's not good. Usually that doesn't look great. So they're gonna have to show up and say something. And I think, given the fact that they've been actively, pulling their ads from different platforms, it doesn't really bode well. I mean, they know that, the fact that they're doing that means that they know something, right? So it's just sort of something we'll have to keep an eye on. But I'm interested to see how they respond in court specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's almost like admitting guilt by taking the ads down. Oh, we have a problem with the ad. We can't run that. If they
Yeah,
really were confident
what's so
they
wrong
were
with it?
exactly. Well, if they were so right with their behavior, they wouldn't feel the need to take it down necessarily.
Yeah, what's so bad about it? You know.
You know? Exactly.
But
Oh,
something
we are
we'll have to keep an eye on for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, well, about that ad. Oh gosh. Anyway, absolutely. Well, our next story is pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, I know you mentioned the Rivian R2, and it's something I think was recently announced. It seems like in middle to late February. It's something we have to talk about. Always good to have competition. I've seen a few Rivian R1s and R1Ts or R1Ss, R1T, depending on the form factor. And the R2 kind of looks like a lower price alternative, relatively, right, at $45,000. So not too bad, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in this. Of course, Tesla was a market leader for a long time in the EV space, but as you know, they're not doing too well these days, and they're no longer the only option. Like I think Rivian is a nice alternative to Tesla, and I think it's great to see other players in this space. And I think that 45,000 is still a lot, but don't forget most cars are not 20, $30,000 anymore. So,
no,
you
that's
know,
true. I mean, it's more or less the average price of a new car in the United States right now is kind of in the mid 40s, which is a little insane to think about, but that is kind of how things are these days. So, I'm right there with you. It's not insane. It's not as insane as people may think, given the market today.
oh
I
yeah.
hate that that's the reality, but it is how it is, as they say. Um, but
Oh,
honestly,
well, yeah, the R2 is expected to come out later this year, and it's fascinating because it's going to have a larger range. So it's roughly hitting 300 miles of range, hopefully even more maybe per charge. And I think that is kind of the range. We've talked about it a little bit with electric cars. I think that most consumers are more confident in the car's range when it gets over 300, because keep in mind you're not going to need under 30 miles. You're never going to drive your car that long. So I think when it's a 300-mile range, you really have like 270 miles. I mean, you're never going to
yeah,
get to
I
the
mean,
very end anyway.
and well, I guess again the biggest thing for any electric car is the charging infrastructure. And that's something we'll have to see. I mean, it seems to be very well appointed. I mean, plenty of storage on the inside. Birch wood accents on the interior. Perhaps more of a traditional car style gauge, kind of gauge cluster screen. I guess it's kind of weird to say it's more, traditional in the fact that it has two screens, one infotainment and one gauge cluster. But that's kind of the in cabin setup for everything.
And so
And seats five,
it
so
yeah.
kind of a smaller SUV by American standards.
And so it's planned to have level 3 autonomous driving capabilities. However,
Yeah,
comparing to other car manufacturers, it's still interesting to see what that really is going to mean with their what how they're going to achieve that. So yeah, level 3 is um is interesting because theoretically um it should be able to make left turns at stop signs, for example, right? That's level 3. And so I think currently a lot of cars have smart lane centering features, and they'll be able maybe to change lanes autonomously. However, truly steering and making turns into left turns across traffic, that's definitely, it's another step forward. That's, it's you still need human intervention. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how they achieve that.
Yeah, no, that's it's pretty interesting, to kind of, yeah, I mean, to kind of think about. I'm looking at the kind of charging infrastructure and to sort of see. I mean, they have a supercharger adapter, I guess, for the Tesla superchargers. Um, it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to think about. I don't know.
Well,
I
there's
I'm not
Electrify
really,
America as well.
anymore,
There,
so
there's also
it's hard to say.
there is also Electrify America, though. I mean, look, Tesla's not the only charging network. There are other charging networks, and I do think it can be pretty extensive. I think Tesla does allow other car brands to charge at their stations. You do need an adapter.
They
So
do, yeah.
I don't think it's really that much of a concern. There you go. And then hopefully the government eventually also incentivizes more development. And it'll be, interesting to see how cheaper electric cars, really, perform. And I think, if you want the Rivian R2, looks like a nice car for what you get.
Well, it's good to make it more accessible, and honestly, like everything, again, like, we just got done talking about something that overpromised and underdelivered. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like we're just gonna have to see what happens in that way, right? Apple's, really everybody, even the blue chip guys are guilty of it. These days, nobody's safe from over promising, under delivering, because that's kind of the thing to do, right? It's easy, it's cheap, and you get to, I mean, it's fun, right? I mean, it's just over promise, under deliver. Why not?
Absolutely.
It really is quite, so again, like with it, it again seems very appealing. Small SUV, great styling, compatible with existing charging infrastructure. And
Well, you don't want to end up like the Fisker car, the Fisker Ocean, the Solar. I mean, that was a neat car, very similar, honestly, to the Rivian R2 and Rivian R1. I think that started at like 50,000, 55,000, but still roughly the same style SUV. And Fisker is no longer around, and they were doing it's hard to launch a car brand, right? I mean, it was very, very interesting to see how they were able to survive as long as they did, honestly, through the pandemic until very recently. And so I think, they're always walking that fine line between, you can't overpromise. Also recalls these days are a huge thing. I mean, we could also talk about the Cybertruck recall with the panels and everything. I mean, there's so many cars and trucks and vehicles will get recalled. So I think it's really a lot as these companies refine their processes for electric cars to make them not only more appealing and safe, but anyway, the Rivian R2 is something to look out for. Lots of updates and coming soon. So. And in other news, we also have another thing that's coming soon related to cars, but video games. GTA 6, of course, rumored to come out at the end of this year. They're expected to release the second teaser trailer maybe later today or this week. So a lot of fans seem to think it's coming out today. Not the game, just the second trailer. And they've had other creators.
Oh.
Yeah, they've had creators who have made maps that look like pretty in Grand Theft Auto 5. It looked like the 6 map apparently, and that was not good. I think they had to take that down because it was giving away, spoiling too much from the new game. So interesting that I saw that. I don't know if you've seen that, but anyway, I noticed that with this game. So anyway, highly anticipated game, and yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see the graphics. I would love to see the graphics.
Well, it's really quite interesting that you mentioned that, because
Because I mean,
there was a YouTuber, who basically broke down, given the trailer, right? Essentially was, broke down the graphics and or kind of the effects, um, used within the trailer, and to kind of estimate, what sort of DLSS and other, it's very, kind of those subtle, like, stuff like the hair physics or reflections or shadows, and stuff like that. I'm trying to find the exact. It's virtually impossible to find any single piece of content. But
yeah,
I just thought that was, that was interesting, just because it was, basically, breaking down the exact, like the polygons and just kind of like how things are rendered and what exactly, like, like the number of people on the beach, from 47 different shots in the trailer. It was really quite interesting. But it's going to be a graphical masterpiece, in short. I mean, it's,
absolutely.
it's they're, and they have a lot of time to kind of tweak and take advantage of that. In terms of, it's obviously a very high budget game. A lot of resources go into making it look just right, among the other things. But it's, again, I mean, this is nothing short. I mean, this is like the Taylor Swift of the gaming industry. I mean, Grand Theft Auto really has become, from a cult classic to probably one of those iconic video games of all time. I mean, this thing is like, I mean, really ever since GTA 3, I feel like has just been like incredibly popular. I mean, and that's putting it pretty lightly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think, yeah, and consoles have really evolved. I mean, really, look, when you think about it, games are, yeah, more powerful than ever. With the PlayStation 5 is pretty impressive. So, I mean, and PCs. I don't think I think the PC game version of GTA 6 will be probably later than this year, the fall of this year, for the Xbox and PlayStation. But yeah, it's interesting. It takes place in Miami, Vice City, uh, in the game, and it takes place in modern times too, which I think is interesting. It's no longer in the past, so interesting to see a modern version. So I'm excited. Like I will get the game. I will try to play the game, and yeah, I think they'll be really successful with it, and yeah, hopefully it
Well,
comes later this year. Yeah,
well, considering other game studios are delaying the release of their games for it, probably a good call.
yeah,
Yeah, it's nothing short, of a cultural phenomenon. And I think, it's everybody knows it. We can't give it half the love it deserves, but it's worth talking about because it's GTA. This is like, it truly is the. I mean, in the world of gaming, this is kind of like it really, like, it has touched everybody's life at some point in some way. Whether it be the absolute rage, of like the content or the fun that you've had, playing it, or the countless memes or GTA Online. I mean, there's so many. It's such a diverse group of memories for a lot of people. So excited, to say the least. Right.
Yeah, no, it'll be very interesting, and yeah, we're looking forward to it later this year. So we'll have updates here when we hear anything new, and when the game comes out, we'll have to check it out. So yeah, GTA 6, lots of interesting things going on.
Well, we had one last thing I that you sent me, and I thought was pretty interesting as it relates to AI. Um, essentially crawling the internet, basically sucking your, basically consuming your data. And there's basically they don't really care about whether you say you can use it or not. They're just going to take it anyway. So
it's worth noting. This is called web scraping, and web scraping with AI has become very popular. And you're familiar with that, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's basically automated attempts to scrape information from, really your website, essentially. And I guess one of the reports that was linked in the article is, essentially for some projects, up to 97% of all traffic are just LLM bots, basically scraping information.
For training,
yeah. So they're downloading and basically really bringing down these open source communities, projects, and websites and infrastructure just so they can have a little bit of a little bit of training on the side, I guess. So it's kind of strange, to be honest, when you think about it, just because this is I don't know if you've heard of something called dead internet theory, but this is kind of eerily similar to kind of just the theory that a majority of the internet traffic is automated. There's no real people. It's just bots talking to bots. And it's scary because, well, if 97% of some open source projects web traffic are from AI company bots,
yeah, it's crazy.
And there's limited ways to kind of protect against it. I mean, there's some sort of CAPTCHA tools. Anubis is kind of like a tool to kind of prevent perhaps bots from crawling your website. But it's it's tough because open source projects have to pay for it. If your traffic goes from 200 to 800 gigabytes per day, this is costing some people thousands of dollars a month, especially open source projects, which they operate with limited resources. It's tough to kind of fend off. And these guys are crafty. They basically, goodwill is irrelevant, and they basically have a giant pile of money. So what are they going to do? They're basically just going to suck your bandwidth until your website goes offline. So
yeah,
and it's tough. I don't know. It's and it's even hard to say who's responsible for all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. And Cloudflare has also come out with a solution for this. So they noticed that basically bots are consuming resources, and they developed this upgrade, I guess, to protect your site and your servers. So it's fascinating because Cloudflare is an infrastructure company. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is. And so they have this thing called the AI Labyrinth, which is a new tool to potentially try to identify malicious web crawlers and drag them into a hole of uselessness. I don't know if you've seen this, but The Verge covered this a few days ago. So this is definitely becoming an issue. And I think, yeah, it's really fascinating when you think about all these companies, these AI companies need data for their LLMs to answer questions, and people do like using, they like this feeling, right? But I think what's also interesting is instead of blocking bots, I mean, because you can't block all bots, I guess, and not all bots are bad. There needs to be a way to give back to the creator. It's really crazy, and so it's it's probably, yeah, a never ending race to outsmart detection. And
Well,
so
it's
rather
it's a
than
cat and mouse game. Like
yeah,
there's no way you're going to be able to stop them. So as you said, I mean, this whole at least from Cloudflare, sort of the AI labyrinth of it's a maze of pages to combat these unauthorized scrapers of just pages and pages of useless yet convincing facts. You know, so it's sort of it allows Cloudflare to kind of fingerprint these malicious entities and perhaps prevent them. I don't it's kind of interesting to me because I don't really know. Cloudflare still serves them traffic, but I guess it's more or less just a bunch of junk, or I
they
guess it
take
doesn't
them to
cost
fake
them a
pages.
lot.
Yeah, they take them to fake
You know,
pages.
so
And then these AI crawlers that keep following links apparently to fake pages, they go deeper and deeper. It makes them easier to detect these malicious bots for their list of bad actors that they think are like bot patterns, and so it wouldn't have detected these if it hadn't sent the bots down a labyrinth of garbage. And so um I don't understand this, but yeah, according to this, these links are not visible to human visitors. I don't know how it's doing this, but Cloudflare is like adding secret links to pages. I don't know if you have to enable this or if you use Cloudflare services, then it just kind of does it automatically in the background. But also, I mean, yeah, when you have a site online, bots can crawl it because it's an online site. Like I think a lot of people don't understand that like email servers are up 24/7. That way you can receive email. If your email server goes down, then you can't receive email. Same thing with the website. Even if nobody's visiting your website, it's there, ready, available online for someone to go visit. And so I think they want to detect this. It is interesting because not all AI bots are bad, but I mean, I guess it does kind of come back to what you were saying about consuming resources that could have gone to human, right? That's the problem here. It's like just it's not useful. It's like this is like not a useful thing. So anyway, I think yeah, this is a very interesting rabbit hole, I guess you could say. So uh that yeah, Cloudflare is sending them down the rabbit hole, detecting these bots, and wow, so forcing them into their tar pits.
well, gotta keep them on their toes, right? So
Yeah,
anyway, that's just one way the AI cat and mouse game continues. I'm sure next week there'll be something. May have a new model, honestly, to talk about.
yeah.
I know real quick. I mean, I haven't tried it, so I can't really say too much on it. But DeepSeek had a new model come out. Give it a try if you can.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Okay.
I haven't personally used it, but DeepSeek V3 got an update.
Ooh, V3 is here. Wow.
So check it out. Can't really say too much about it other than it seems to be impressive. So,
And yeah, and 3.7 Sonnet's thinking model also seems to be well liked. I know we discussed that when the week it came out, but
yeah,
so
yeah.
far that seems it is a little upgrade over 3.5 Sonnet. So yeah, lots of improvements as always with AI stuff. And yeah, we're here every week covering the news. Don't forget to check us out on our website at techtalklive.xyz. Subscribe to our mailing list there. You'll get tech updates delivered to your email and stay updated with the show and tech news. So, and yeah, DM us anytime. What else, Sam? We missing anything?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, give our website a check and join our email list. We're here every week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
We'll see you next Tuesday.